Today, we're going to talk about one of the subjects that fascinates me maybe more than anything else, and that is how can we be more efficient with our time? How can we use our time more wisely, and how can we buy back our time? Okay, so we're going to talk about that and how it applies within solar sales. My name's Taylor Armstrong. We're here to help you close more deals, generate more leads and referrals, and hopefully have a much better time in the solar industry. Hope you're doing awesome. And I hope whenever you are listening to this, you are closing lots of deals, you are growing your company, you are having success. And hopefully, these episodes can play a small part in that. Hey, we're free and available on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and appreciate everyone that has taken the time to leave us a review and share the podcast. That's what helps us grow the podcast, and get it out to more people. So thank you very much, and would appreciate if you haven't, go leave us a review. Go share that episode. Would be much appreciated. Okay, so let's jump into it. It's going to be a little bit shorter episode today, and because we're busy, right? Don't have enough time because we're not delegating. Okay, but you guys have heard me talk probably many times in the podcast about how can we be more effective with our time, and the reason for that is I truly believe that the people that are having the most success in solar are the ones that have mastered their time, okay, that are spending the time on selling the accounts on the most high value, high income activities. And because I've seen it myself, all the people that have won multiple golden door awards, all the people that are crushing a ton of sales, they are extremely effective with their time. And it's something that I have just been fascinated by and am constantly trying to improve. Okay, so a few of these principles that we're going to talk about today, I have mentioned in other episodes, but I'm going to expound a little bit. Recently, I started reading this book called Buy Back Your Time. Okay, and it's by a guy named Dan Martell, and that's goes without saying, pretty self-explanatory. He talks about how we can buy back our time. Okay, and so there's a few things in particular that I want to talk about, expound on a little bit, and just re-invite you to do if you have not already. Okay, so first thing, we need to identify what is our time worth, okay, or what should be our buyback rate. All right, so I read this, and hopefully you all know what your hourly rate is, right? I've talked about this. Calculate what are your commissions, how many hours have you put into working. It is really valuable to know what your hourly rate is, and the idea with it is if you can hire someone to do a lower value task for less than what you're making per hour, you might want to consider doing that. Hey, but what was really interesting in this book, Dan Martell, he talks about really what should the rate be for the time we want to buy back. And he has a formula in here. If you want a visual of this, you can Google it or you can pick up the book. I got it on Audible personally, but he has like workbooks and stuff you can download. So his formula is you put your income, you divide it by 2,000 hours, which is the time that, um, probably working in a year. And then you divide that by 4, right? So one more time, you put income divided by 2,000 hours, then divide that by 4. And the number it spits out is what you should pay someone to buy back your time, right? And so the examples he gives, just for example, if you're making 500,000, 500,000 divided by 2,000 divided by 4 comes out at 6,250. 100,000 divided by 2,000 divided by 4 comes out at 1,250. Okay, so depending on your income level, hopefully most of us in solar should be making at least 100 grand. Hopefully, if you're not, don't worry, you'll get there. I didn't make 100 grand for quite a long time. Commissions were far less when I started back in 2016, but it took me really a couple years to hit my first 100 grand. Hey, and I didn't know this at the time, but the idea with this whole buyback rate is if you're using 100 grand as an example, can you hire someone, pay him 1250 to do a lower value task? Right. So if there's a task you could hire someone for 1250, then you should do that. Right. But if you're only making 100 grand and you have a higher value task that's maybe $15 an hour, okay, do that task until you can hire someone else, until you can pay them 12.50. Okay, so I just thought that was really interesting. That you can break it down by your income level, and this is something that I think we should all be teaching our people. I mean, many examples of this. It's like if you have a house, if you have an apartment, could you potentially pay someone 12.50 an hour to clean? Right? Maybe not, depending on where you're at. If you're making 500,000, okay, I mean, you should be able to pay 62.50 an hour for just about any task you don't like doing. Okay. And then I'm going to segue right into the next principle, the next takeaway I had just reading through this book. And that is, this guy, he also talks about doing a time and energy audit. And this is something that's a game changer. It's something I invite all my clients in our coaching programs to do. I try to do one of these myself at least a couple times a year, which I think I'm about due for another one. But what this is, if you haven't heard me talk about it before, it's you audit your time. Okay, and he recommends in the book for a full 2 weeks. I've done it for 2 weeks before, but he breaks down every 15 minutes. What are you doing with your time? Okay, and I know it's a hassle. Right now, I'm trying to get a few of our people in the coaching group to do this. Some people, they hate it, and it is a hassle because you're writing down every 15 minutes what you did. Okay, but the powerful thing about this is, number one, you see where your time went, but number two, you see what value activities are you doing. And this is something I learned from the book that I don't think I have done as well, is after you do this time and energy audit for ideally 2 weeks, okay, and also on weekends. So it does take commitment. It is a hassle, but you learn so much doing it. So once you do this, he has you write down the value of the tasks you did, right? So from $1 sign to $4 signs, what's the value? Okay, so examples he gives, it's like driving to the office, checking emails, meeting with your accountant. Um, I guess in our case, what are some things we do daily? It's like managing accounts, talking with our installers, sending out proposals maybe to our customers, to our leads. Okay, so that's another topic, just writing out everything you do in your daily life. But then once you do this, you mark in the green things that gave you energy that you actually like doing. And then you mark in the red what are things that took away energy, right? If you hate sending out proposals to customers, that's a red activity, right? Maybe you don't like doing that. Okay, so this gives you some insight. And then on the other side, he puts the value of it, right? And so, really, the big thing with this is if it's a low value thing and you don't like doing it, then immediately you should figure out a way how can you potentially have someone else do this, pay someone else to do it. Okay, there are things that maybe they're low value activities, but you like doing them. Okay, an example is maybe you like mowing the lawn, maybe you like whacking weeds outside. I don't know. I've actually heard from some like bigger name entrepreneurs that they still sometimes do lower value tasks that they could hire someone to do because they like those things. Okay, so that's a different thing to consider. But it's powerful just to see what are the value of the tasks I'm doing, and then do I love it? Do I hate it? If you do this for a full 2 weeks, you're gonna have just a whole library of things, a whole book of things that you probably didn't know you were doing. Right? I've talked about it in other episodes, but when I first did this whole time study, there were so many things like, checking Instagram, checking social media, was spending way more time than I thought on those things, playing games on my phone, right? Just stupid things that in my head, they were like, I was doing them for 5 minutes, but when I did this time audit, ended up being way more time than I expected. Okay, so just a reminder, I want to invite you guys to do these things again. If you have not, figure out what's the value of your time, do the buyback rate formula, right? Put your income divided by 2,000, then divided by 4. That is the rate you should be trying to buy back your time. And then the second thing, just consider doing one of these time audits, figure out where you're actually spending your time. And I know it's painful, but you're going to have some big revelations if you actually do that. Hey, so quicker episode. If you want to learn more about this subject, yeah, you can check out that book. It's called Buy Back Your Time. But this is something that we should be always figuring out, okay, how can we be more efficient with our time? How can we speed up the process? How can we get in front of more people, right? Because the time that we're spending, maybe it's sending up proposals, maybe it's washing our car, maybe it's feeding our dog, maybe it's cleaning our house. If we use that time instead on higher value activities, knock on more doors, generating more leads, getting in front of more people, how big of an impact would that have on your income? Ask yourself that, right? So make sure you consider that. That's part of being a solarpreneur, is figuring out how we can be more effective with our time. And I believe buying back our time is a big part of that. Okay, so hopefully this helps. Send this to someone that is using their time poorly right now. Hopefully that inspires them. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace out.